welcome you to this service today on this Sunday in which we are commemorating the birthday of Martin Luther King, and also as we reflect on Jesus' first miracle at the wedding at Cana of Galilee. And our theme is, Come to the Light, the Transformers. I'm reading today from the second chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke, beginning with the first verse. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water," and they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. And when the steward tasted the water, it had become wine, and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn from the water knew. The steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. This is the word of life. Thanks be to God. I can almost hear the question in Mary's voice as she points out to her son Jesus that the wedding guests have run out of wine. I can hear that question because we, as well as myself, may very well reflect on similar situations in these days when we are told that some items are becoming scarce. Will we have enough? Are we going to run out? Are we rich enough, safe enough, good enough? Will we go over our budget? Will we be able to put dinner on the table? Will we be able to keep the wolf from the door? Now it is that issue of scarcity that is at the very center of Mary's concern. And Jesus responds to it. He does it, and he does so as he also always responds abundantly. Now this is one of the stories that we refer to in the Gospels as sign story. It's one of the many ways that John is presenting to us Jesus as the one who offers abundance. Jesus as the one who incarnates the abundant love and grace of the Father. Jesus who embodies God, who shows us God, and shows us not only God, but shows us God abundantly. In that way, you see, Jesus was and is a transformer. Now we may very well ask, well, how much is enough? That's a very critical question for many of us. As we look at our own checkbooks, examine our own bank accounts, as we compare what we have with the way prices are going up in the world that we are in. This question of abundance, then, has connections to economic concerns. The questions of how much is enough. So we get out our calculators, maybe, and we think that we can figure it all out that way. But is that the expected way that Christians should respond to the issues of scarcity? Because it's not only about scarcity for me, but scarcity for all. You see, my abundance cannot just be about my abundance. We speak of the abundant life in relationship to the Christian life. How is that life going to be for someone who is hungry, for someone who suffers because they don't have suitable housing, for persons who are at risk because of the neighborhood or the part of town they live in? How is life going to be abundant for those persons? Thus enters Christ. And thus entered Dr. Martin Luther King, whose birthday in this service we commemorate today. There King found himself as a young pastor asking the question, what should I do? I have a wife and a young family, he wrote. The dangers of speaking out against racism are real, and they often end tragically. This is my first pastorate in a silk-stocking Baptist church that caters to the black middle-class values. What will they think if I come in and develop a reputation as a rebel-rouser? The members of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church are black bourgeois who believe that black people can make it if, quote, they study hard, work hard, save their money, and stay out of trouble. Jesus didn't mind the risk of what it meant of getting into trouble. And we know in the life, the ministry, the prophetic work of Dr. Martin Luther King, the very same. Transformers, you see. And we are called to be no less. As the African American community approached the civil rights movement, as they encountered what it would take in their struggle for equality, they did so, I'm quite sure, in many situations with mixed feelings. Many knew that power concedes nothing without a struggle. And many knew that the struggle might very well cost them their jobs, their homes, their families, their lives. And thus, we read from Martin Luther's classic letter from a Birmingham jail these words. But more basically, I'm in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century BC left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so I am compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Because we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all. And so we come to these words today in the Gospel according to St. John. The great theologian Sally McFade has reminded us in her book, Life Abundant, that the theology that we are called to of the good life might look very differently than how the good life is defined in the broader society. She says the Christian good life is marked by sustainability, self-limitation, inclusion of all, especially the weak and the vulnerable. And she says, I believe Christian discipleship for the 21st century North American Christian means cruciform living, life in the shape of the cross. Now this is radical, my friends. Living this cruciform life is not about easing into a comfortable relationship with a God who is benign. It's not about a private peace or a personal path to enlightenment. It's about our critical connection between our own personal lives and the broader lives of our brothers and sisters. Thus, Dr. King wrote the words he did from that Birmingham jail as he reminded us we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Dr. King's life was in that cruciform shape. Because the cruciform life means that we live out the love of God in every choice that we make. Choices about food and clothes and cars and recreation and water and heat and light. These choices are about numbers. And we who have so much, even as we might face the threat of some scarcity, can hardly fathom what it is to live a life defined by scarcity. Thus we are called to tend in this flourishing place that we live in, to tend to the earth and to our brothers and our sisters, and our sisters and our brothers. And wherever there is injustice, wherever there is wrong, we must speak, we must act, we must turn the water into wine. We must transform. And in the power of that today, we are gathered in this sanctuary, remembering this man's life and prophetic ministry as an example of what it means to live the cruciform life and to be a transformer. Now, it's not easy to jump on board, I'm sure, for all of us today, with all of us. And this that we are hearing. But I encourage you, dig deeper in your soul. Go to that space that you've not been in before, in your soul, to understand that it's just not about me and mine. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have abundant, everlasting life. We are called to be his instruments, to do that work we're called to do, to go to those spaces we've never been in before in order to do it. Like Jesus, that may very well mean for us, as it meant for Dr. Martin Luther King, going to the cross. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, be a transformer.
Jesus,